I recognize the Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's like Christmas in Toronto and Ontario. Everyone's got their budget. Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. Today, Ontario and Canada face challenges unlike anything we have ever faced before. Our closest ally and trading partner, our neighbour, the United States, has overturned an economic relationship we once saw as unshakable. Madam Speaker, I lived in the United States for 15 years. My wife is American. My children were raised there. I remember those days fondly. And working for a Canadian financial institution, I also served as the president of the Canadian Association of New York. And Madam Speaker, when the tragedy of 9/11 occurred, the Canadian Association of New York rallied to support our American friends by hosting a massive Canada Loves New York campaign. Thousands of Canadians flocked to New York to show their support. Madam Speaker, I know Americans would do the same for us. We are not only friends, but we are family, and that is why this trade war hurts. But as families go through bumps, we too will go through these bumps and come out stronger. My father, arriving in Canada in 1951 as a refugee, chose this country. He came to Canada with nothing, and Canada gave him everything. So I dedicate this speech to him and the 41 million others who call this land of ours home. Madam Speaker, I would like to also congratulate you for being the first woman Speaker of Ontario since Confederation. Yeah. And before I begin, I would like to paint a brief picture of the time and place our province finds itself. First and foremost, we need to face the facts. Ontario and all of Canada are at a precipice, and we need to take serious steps to make sure we do not find ourselves anywhere near the bottom. These tariffs, imposed by the United States, have been a wake-up call for Canadians. Ces tarifs imposés par les États-Unis ont été une
These tariffs imposed by the United States have been a wake-up call for Canadians.
Economy and as a nation. Un avertissement qui met en évidence les défis sous-jacents.
A wake-up call that highlights the underlying issues we face as an economy and as a nation.
Fear of tariffs and uncertainty, mais ce n'est pas le moment de craindre les tarifs et l'incertitude.
But now is not the time to fear the tariffs and uncertainty.
Growth in our real GDP and growth in our wages with bigger paychecks. We need to achieve this reality because future generations depend on it. And we need to leverage every tool at our disposal to make that happen. Whether it is our competitive advantage in critical minerals, in energy, technology, talent, and our workers, or any other area. We will need to bolster our economy by investing in our powerful and promising industries, by building more, by building faster, and by protecting jobs and creators. And by doing so, we achieve long-term prosperity. After all, a strong economy provides the necessary revenues to invest in education, housing, and health care. And so the next question is, how? How will Ontario stand to face the challenges before us and deliver the economy that our future depends on? Madam Speaker, I come here before you today with a proposal, a plan. Au nom du Premier ministre Doug Ford et tout notre gouvernement.
On behalf of the Premier and of all the Government of Ontario, today I would like to introduce the Budget 2025 plan in order to protect Ontario.
And our entire Government of Ontario, it is my honour today to present to you the 2025 Ontario provincial budget, a plan to protect Ontario. In my time as Ontario's Minister of Finance, I've had the honour of introducing 4 different provincial budgets and 4 fall economic statements. Successive budgets that since 2018 have helped create 1 million more jobs, grown our GDP to over $1.2 trillion, attracted new investments in key sectors, and have the most ambitious capital plan in our history with over $200 billion over the next 10 years. Madam Speaker, this did not happen by accident, and it did not happen by chance. These accomplishments came as the result of hard work from the people and businesses that make up Ontario's economic engine, the workers who build our infrastructure, manufacture our goods, and extract our natural resources. Because, Madam Speaker, it is they, the great people of this province, who for generations have led the way for Ontario to become the economic engine of Confederation. Madam Speaker, these sweeping tariffs have taken aim at our most critical industries, but make no mistake, Canadians have never been more united than we are right now. United in pride and purpose, with a common goal to stand up for one another and help us through these tough times. United in rejecting threats to our sovereignty. And, Madam Speaker, let me be clear as I echo the words of the Premier. Canada will never be the 51st state. Canada is not for sale. It is amazing to witness the burst of patriotism across our province and our great country. Our people and businesses are already out there supporting the local economy in every way they can, putting their money in Ontario-made and Canadian-made. And just like them, our government's plan to protect Ontario is designed to strengthen and support not only Ontario's economy, but Canada's economy as a whole by positioning us for long-term prosperity and growth. Ontario must make a decision that will not only shape the future of our province, but the future of all of Canada. Madam Speaker, if not now, when? As Ontario goes, Canada goes. Our leadership during this period of uncertainty demands that we get the big decisions right. And so, we are left with an important choice to make. A choice between the old economy and a new economy. A choice between an economy of uncertainty and vulnerability or an economy of growth, prosperity, and resilience. A choice between the economy of yesterday and the economy of tomorrow. A future where Ontario enjoys free and unfettered trade with every province and territory, with nothing to stop us from building the most powerful nation and economy in our country's history. A future where a united Canada, with Ontario as its largest economy, is the most competitive nation to do business in all of the G7. A future with clean nuclear energy and pipelines that power our economic engine and cement our place as a global energy superpower. A future with critical minerals unique to Ontario's north that make us the envy of the world. Madam Speaker, these are the economic drivers that will ultimately dictate whether a nation is in or out, who holds the cards, and who the major players are. And here in Ontario, we have all the cards we need to make sure we find ourselves at the table. The natural resources, the talent, the ingenuity. Ontario has everything we need to seize our place in the world as an economic powerhouse that will span generations. Ontario must embrace this newfound opportunity to embark on nation-building projects that will kickstart the next economic age, like the critical mining projects in the Ring of Fire, building nuclear energy generation, including the first modular reactors in the G7 right here in Ontario. A new deep seaport in James Bay to serve as a gateway to bring Canadian resources to new markets. Tunneling the 401 to ease congestion as the busiest highway in North America. And building GO 2.0, the next generation of GO passenger train service in the Greater Golden Horseshoe. Our government was re-elected with a strong mandate from the people of Ontario to protect the economy and jobs. And we expect the federal government to come along with us. We will continue to use every tool in our toolkit, not only to defend the jobs and industries of this province, but to guide us through one of the greatest economic challenges this province has seen in a generation. As John F. Kennedy once said about big, bold ideas, we choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Madam Speaker, if not now, when? Now is not the time to ease up. Now is the time to be bold. Now is the time to do hard things. The economy of tomorrow is at the door, and I'm here to tell you that our government is ready to answer that call. First and foremost, Madam Speaker, is the work our government must do to defend our economy from the immediate impacts of tariffs. These are the measures needed to protect jobs and job creators alike by providing them with certainty at a time when uncertainty threatens their well-being. Like the $11 billion that we are rolling out as direct support to help our most impacted businesses and their workers. First, we are deferring around $9 billion worth of provincial taxes for 80,000 businesses. This is providing a tremendous amount of liquidity and financing relief for our businesses, and it will give them certainty where there is uncertainty. Then secondly, there is a new $2 billion rebate through the WSIB that has flowed directly to safe employers to help keep workers on the job. And on top of that, Madam Speaker, our government is also proposing to create the all-new Protecting Ontario account, one that will help us support impacted businesses and our economy to weather the storm. But we are going to need the federal government to step up and do their part as well. Tariffs have created an economic challenge right across Ontario, and it is our communities who are hurting the most, Madam Speaker. But our government is there for them too. Through the new Trade Impacted Communities Fund, we will provide $40 million in tailored, flexible grants to help communities respond to disruptions in their local industries. This funding will go to municipalities, economic development, and other industry associations to help them source locally and find new markets. And, Madam Speaker, protecting our economy is about more than just ensuring our workers and businesses have been given the tools they need to weather the storm. It is also about protecting the gains we have made since 2018. Gains that include more than $46 billion in new investments we attracted since 2020 from global automakers, part suppliers, and manufacturers of EV batteries and battery materials. This is why we are doubling down on initiatives that we know are working, like the $1.4 billion Ontario-made manufacturing investment tax credit we launched back in 2023. And I'm proud to announce that we are sticking to our commitment by proposing to temporarily enhance and expand that tax credit. If approved, this would increase the rate of support to 15% and make even more manufacturers eligible, including public corporations operating in Ontario. Altogether, this would mean an additional $1.3 billion in support to attract capital investment, help lower costs, and most importantly, protect Ontario. Madam Speaker, in thinking about our economy and the work needed to safeguard it, we must not only look to the past and progress thus far, we must also account for the growth we all want to see tomorrow, make concerted efforts to foster a growing, innovative, and a strong future economy. And that is why, as part of our efforts to stimulate entrepreneurship and economic growth for our young Ontario companies, our government, through Venture Ontario, is providing an additional $90 million in venture capital funding to strengthen competitiveness at the earliest stages of growth. This funding will have a major impact on a number of sectors focused on industries like defense, technologies like AI, cybersecurity, life sciences, biomanufacturing, and many others, all of which will have a growing part to play not only for today, but in the economy of tomorrow. So, Madam Speaker, these are some of the many actions being taken by our government to protect Ontario from tariffs, and we are not stopping there, Madam Speaker. The defence of Ontario's economy has already begun. We have introduced real measures with real, tangible support that will help us weather the storm while we work with our partners in federal, provincial, and territorial governments to build the strongest economy in the G7. And make no mistake, Madam Speaker, our colleagues in Ottawa, the provinces and the territories are just as determined as we are to propel Canada towards the economy of tomorrow. For months now, we have been in close collaboration with our counterparts as a united Team Canada to develop our joint response to this increasingly unpredictable situation. And as Chair of the Council of the Federation, Premier Ford, or Captain Canada, as I like to call him and many others do as well, Premier Doug Ford has been an incredible leader in the coordination of our plans with our Canadian partners and in the negotiations with Washington. Premier, thank you for your leadership. And I myself, as Chair of the Provincial and Territorial Finance Ministers, have had the privilege of working with my counterparts to build provincial and national solutions. Cooperation is key, Madam Speaker, but as a leader amongst the provinces, Ontario has a responsibility to set the tone for the rest of the nation. That is why this government, under Premier Ford, is leading the way in tearing down interprovincial trade barriers once and for all. We have taken steps to become the first province in Canada to remove all barriers under the Canadian Free Trade Agreement, with no exceptions. These measures have the potential to boost the nation's GDP by $200 billion. And, Madam Speaker, when all of Canada wins, Ontario wins. We hold our relationship with all the provinces and territories in incredibly high regard. Our relationship with the federal government is no exception, including with our new Prime Minister and his new cabinet. Congratulations to you all. And I'm here to reinforce what our government and our Premier have been saying all along, that we will work with anyone to protect Ontario and all of Canada. Nope, that was close. All levels of government need to work together to tackle the most pressing issues facing Ontario and Canada today. Issues that we know are holding us back from delivering on the nation-building projects to become the most competitive economy in the G7. Our government is ambitious, Madam Speaker. What we have in store for Ontario's economic future is nothing short of revolutionary. And while I know we are ready to kickstart these ambitious initiatives, we will need the help of our partners in the federal government to ensure that it happens without delay. Our government made a commitment to the people of Ontario that we would spare no expense to protect jobs, businesses and families. And we fully expect the federal government to do the same by reinvesting every cent of tariff revenues back to impacted workers and businesses. And just as importantly, we're going to need to work closely with our federal counterparts to deliver on nation-building projects, such as reactors, seaports, railroads, pipelines, and refineries. But historically, Madam Speaker, this has taken time. So much time that, in fact, that in 2020, Canada ranked 188th out of 208 economies in the number of days businesses spent dealing with construction permits for new projects. But it doesn't have to be that way. With the right mindset and the right team, we can fast-track permitting to get nation building. That can be Team Canada, Madam Speaker, and that partner can be the federal government. It is reassuring to hear that the federal government has already made commitments to defer to the provinces on issues like environmental assessments by July 1st. And, Madam Speaker, we will be holding them to account. The federal government must work with us to do everything in its power to clear the maze of bureaucracy and red tape, barriers like Ottawa's Bill C-69. Because nothing says don't build in Canada like Bill C-69. That is why we continue to call on Ottawa to put an end to this legislation and to work with us. And it is why our government recently introduced legislation to get approvals in Ontario done in months, not years, through a one project, one approval model. This would cut review timelines, uphold robust environmental standards, and help us get nation-building projects going. For example, there are countless billions in economic power held underground in Ontario's north, Madam Speaker. But 15 years to open a mine is not acceptable. We need to send a clear message to the world and from Ontario and all of Canada that Ontario and Canada is open for business. And it all starts by approving projects like the unlocking of the Ring of Fire. That is why I'm pleased to announce that as part of our government's plan to protect Ontario, we are proposing the creation of the all-new $500 million Critical Minerals Processing Fund. Madam Speaker, this investment will help ensure we can dig here, process here, and sell those critical minerals to new markets here at home and all abroad. But we're going to need an all-hands-on-deck to help to unleash the economic potential of these critical minerals, and we will work alongside Indigenous partners in the North to do it. It is important that we use this opportunity to deliver unprecedented economic development in Northern Ontario. That is why we are working to create partnerships with First Nations that offer economic opportunities and that will span generations, bringing prosperity to the North, and we will do this through our new $3 billion Indigenous Opportunities Financing Program. This expansion will support Indigenous participation in more sectors, including electricity, critical minerals, resource development, offering generational economic opportunity for these communities. And we are building those partnerships through a new Indigenous Participation Fund, Madam Speaker, an investment of $70 million to enable meaningful consultation to better equip Indigenous communities with skills training in mineral exploration and mine development. And we are also investing $10 million over 3 years to create new scholarship opportunities for Indigenous students. Speaker, we must leverage every resource and every partner so that we can attract even greater investments, strengthen our supply chains, and support critical job growth in the North, and of course, fuel the economy of tomorrow. We will continue to work closely with the new federal government to make these timelines a thing of the past and invest more now. We need to prioritize these bold approaches. We need to think in the big picture, in the long term. Madam Speaker, it is time for bold action, from interprovincial trade to mining to energy, Madam Speaker. Our energy needs demand that we take careful and calculated approaches in order to launch us into the economy of tomorrow. And let me tell you, the economy of tomorrow is hungry for energy. Electricity demand in the province alone is expected to grow by 75% in the next 25 years, and we are making excellent progress, including upgrading our nuclear generating stations in Pickering, Darlington, and the Bruce Peninsula. But, Madam Speaker, we are doing more. As a matter of fact, just last week, our government announced construction approval of the first of 4 small modular reactors at the Darlington nuclear site, making the first of their kind in the G7. Not only will this first small modular reactor, or SMR, produce enough energy to power the equivalent of 300,000 homes, it will also support thousands of good-paying jobs. And although we are exploring the development of the first new large-scale nuclear plants in over 3 decades within the province, with potential locations in Bruce County and Port Hope, we are still going to need to do more. That is why we're investing in new generation, transmission and storage as part of our plan to spearhead the largest expansion of electric generation in over 30 years. Ontario's plan to power our economic growth proves once and for all you can grow the economy, you can create jobs, you can lower costs, all the while transforming Ontario into an energy superpower. And, Madam Speaker, speaking of being big and bold, we continue to have the most ambitious capital plan in Ontario's history, with over $200 billion over the next decade to build and maintain critical infrastructure, such as roads, highways, transit, hospitals, and high-speed internet. These projects will help get people and goods moving faster, while improving our economic productivity and prosperity. That includes our historic investments in the Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund and the Municipal Housing Infrastructure Program, and will include an additional immediate $400 million investment to enable the construction of more homes. To get more built faster than otherwise would not get built, we are proposing $5 billion in additional funding through the Building Ontario Fund. Through this, we are leveraging Canadian institutional investments to create value for taxpayers and deliver on even more infrastructure projects in energy, housing, and long-term care. But with the increasing need to protect Ontario and all of Canada's economic potential towards the future, we are going to have to build more. And we're going to have to build faster, including projects like Highway 413. We are building the Bradford Bypass, building the Highway 401 tunnel, building the Ontario line with shovels in the ground along all parts of the new subway, and building the Gardiner Express at its unprecedented 24/7 construction schedule to finish in 2 years what was planned to take 3 years. We are also working to deliver on the Hazel-McCallion LRT, and we're making it easier and faster for people to get where they need to go by expanding and building better GO train and bus service. Madam Speaker, from cranes to cement trucks, Ontario is building the most energetic and vibrant economy in the G7. As you can see, our government is not holding back. From tunnels, highways, nuclear reactors, mines, processing facilities, homes and more, we are leaving no stone unturned and no community left behind. With all the work there is to do to build infrastructure and protect our economy, we will have to count on the great workers in Ontario. And to do that, we've got to give them the right tools to get the job done. Tools that will help them find good-paying jobs in the face of economic uncertainty. not only by continuing to deliver relief for businesses and workers, but by doubling down on strategies we know have maximum impact. All the historic infrastructure projects I listed are going to help ensure workers have their place in building Ontario's future. But supporting our workforce also means ensuring they can acquire, develop, and retain their skills. And with another $1 billion investment, we have now announced a total of $2.5 billion in our government skills development fund. Madam Speaker, almost 1 million workers have been trained and reskilled for in-demand jobs to date. And it means even more workers can gain valuable skills and experience to help retain the jobs and salaries that they and their families depend on. And what are families if not the lifeblood of our communities, the beating heart of every home, in every town and city in Ontario? But with everything going on in the world right now, families are anxious about making ends meet, anxious about their jobs, anxious about their savings. We get it, Madam Speaker. We have done a lot since 2018, never raising a tax for Ontario people and businesses, and under Premier Ford, we are taking the leadership one step further. Madam Speaker, I'm proud to affirm that, starting with the current provincial gas tax cut that would have ended in June, we propose to make it permanent. This change, if passed, would save Ontario drivers 5 cents per litre on gas and 5.3 cents per litre on fuel. All in, we have saved families and family and businesses nearly $4 billion. But wait, Madam Speaker, there's more. Because we are also proposing that starting June 1st, 2025, our government can help save Ontarians even more time and money by removing all the tolls on Highway 407 East. If approved, this would put $7,200 directly back into the pockets of daily commuters every single year. That's real money. Because we are taking bold action where bold action is needed, Madam Speaker. We have made record investments in health care, education, and social services. But these investments are not sustainable without a growing and prosperous economy. And it is why we have focused so hard on retaining a prudent fiscal plan that secures long-term stability for lifelong success. Ontario received 2 credit rating upgrades last year alone, and we are spending a lower share of our revenues on interest costs than we have since the 1980s. We have some of the lowest borrowing costs of any Canadian province, and we are seeing our debt-to-GDP ratio, which is an excellent way to measure an economy's fiscal health, near the lowest levels in 15 years. And, Madam Speaker, we can now use that balance sheet to protect workers and businesses, because you cannot make record investments in health care like we have without a responsible plan. And thanks to our powerful balance sheet, we have made significant strides towards pushing our health care system to the forefront of excellence. Under the leadership of our great Minister of Health, Sylvia Jones, and Dr. Jane Philpott, we are leveraging our $2.1 billion primary care action plan to make primary care the backbone of our health system. Madam Speaker, Ontario is leading the nation in healthcare once more by becoming the first Canadian jurisdiction to establish a framework that connects every willing person to a family doctor within 4 years, no matter where they live in Ontario. We are creating and expanding over 305 primary care teams, including more than $235 million this year alone for 80 additional teams and to connect 300,000 more people. We are also delivering on the construction of new hospital infrastructure, like the Campbellford Memorial Hospital and the Aurelia Soldiers Memorial Hospital, to serve our growing communities. Where is she? She's somewhere there. And we're creating new opportunities to hire more healthcare professionals across Ontario through our government's Learn and Stay grant. This will enable us to grow the number of nurses, paramedics, primary care practitioners, med lab technologists across the province by paying for their school and supplies in exchange for time delivering care in our communities. And since 2018, our government has registered nearly 100,000 nurses and over 15,000 doctors. Wow. We are seeing the success in healthcare human resources, and we're also seeing more positive outcomes when it comes to reductions in surgical and diagnostic wait times. Since 2020, we have invested over $1 billion to support surgical recovery, including supporting hospitals to do more surgeries than they have done even before the pandemic, and opening hospital operating rooms on weeknights and on weekends. And in 2024-25, over 39,000 cataract surgeries, nearly 66,000 hours of MRI, and over 31,000 hours of CT scans were funded in community, surgical, and diagnostic centres, paid for by your OHIP card, never your credit card. Ontario has some of the lowest, if not the lowest, surgical wait times in Canada. But, Madam Speaker, we can do more. That is why we're investing up to $280 million to expand community surgical and diagnostic centres to continue making it easier and faster for people to connect to publicly funded surgeries and procedures. And because you cannot build this healthy economy without a healthy population, we are going to get them back out on their feet in the community. Yeah. We continue delivering meaningful outcomes here at home. We're going to continue to call on the federal government to increase the Canada Health Transfer so that we can continue building a resilient and transformational and effective healthcare system. Congratulations to you, Minister Jones, for your great work. Madam Speaker, working to protect communities is at the heart of this budget. There's fighting the rising cost of living, there's providing access to world-class health care, but there's also safety, keeping our streets, communities, and the whole of our province safe from criminals and gangs, and safe from the dangerous and illegal gun and drug trade coming from our southern border. Our brave officers and Border Patrol agents are out every single day working to protect our communities and keep families safe. I want to thank each and every one of them for their service. And I'm here to tell you that we are going to keep supporting them every chance we get with every resource, just like we did in January, when we supported our federal partners by bolstering our efforts to protect our border and combat illegal activity by launching Operation Deterrence. We know these measures are working, and working well. So we will continue investing in the strategies we know are making a difference. That is why our government will also be bolstering the security of our borders by expanding our Joint Air Support Unit with 2 new police helicopters. These will support the Niagara Regional Police and the Windsor Police Service as they increase patrol, security, and enforcement at key ports of entry. And when taken with our announcement last year of 5 new helicopters for the GTA and Ottawa Police Services, this brings our total number of Joint Air Support Unit helicopters to 7. Wow. Our message to criminals and traffickers is clear, Madam Speaker. We're coming for you. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, there is no sugarcoating the situation we find ourselves in. Ontario and Canada are facing one of the single greatest economic challenges in modern history. Plain and simple, tariffs threaten to slow down what we have achieved to date in our mission to build our economy and make life more affordable for Ontarians. We must act with strength, prudence, and determination to protect our economic strength, to protect our jobs, to protect our industries, and even our sovereignty. But even in the face of a challenge of this magnitude, I'm here to tell you there is hope. Hope for prosperity, hope for a safer community, hope for a future where not only are we less reliant on the United States and more reliant on ourselves, a future where Canada and Ontario find themselves at the epicenter of a new economic age. Every moment in our history has brought us to this point, an economic age where control over our destiny and our success is dictated by us. An economic age where we leverage our natural resources, our clean energy, our infrastructure, our technology, and our workforce in order to become the single most competitive economy in the G7, an economic age where Canada's #1 trading partner is Canada. And where free trade among the provinces and territories is just that, free. That is the economy of tomorrow. We have everything we need to propel Ontario towards a future ripe with more opportunity than ever before. We need to work together as a province united, as Team Canada. We've done it before, Madam Speaker. We have overcome every challenge before us, and we stand proud today as Ontarians and Canadians because of it. Every moment in our history before this point has led us exactly to where we stand today. This budget is the foundation of our government's plan to help us turn this vision into reality. But we cannot do it alone. It is time we put aside our party stripes, forget our differences, and work together. At the national level, yes, but at home here in Ontario as well. To our colleagues from the NDP, the Liberals, the Greens, and to the independent member, I ask that you work with us so that every worker, family and business in every community across the province is part of the economy of tomorrow. Let us put aside our differences and join us. Let us build Canada together. Madam Speaker, we are here, armed with an ambitious, bold, and targeted plan that will make the investments necessary for our well-being today, as well as the well-being of future generations. Armé d'un plan ambitieux.
With an ambitious plan that there are investments necessary for our well-being today, as well as the well-being of our future generations.
Not the time for distractions. We cannot afford them. And I know that rampant uncertainty caused by tariff policies will make it difficult. We cannot lose sight of the danger at hand. We cannot lose sight of who we are. The times demand that we are ready for anything. And make no mistake, Madam Speaker, Ontario is ready. We have a vision. We have a mandate. We have a plan. We have the people. And together, we will build a stronger Ontario. We will build a stronger, sovereign, and prosperous Canada. Thank you, and may God bless the people of Ontario.